Getting in some breaking news now that India's fiscal deficit for 2022-2023 is at 6.4% of the GDP, and that's the fiscal deficit, and that's around 6.4% of the GDP as it was projected by the Finance Ministry in the revised budget estimates according to the government data released today. And unveiling the revenue expenditure data of the Union government for 2022-23, the CGA saying that the fiscal deficit in absolute term was about 17.33 lakh crore, which is a provisional number. And India's GDP also growing at 6.1% in January to March 2023, according to the government data. The GDP projected to grow at 7.2% in 22-23 against 9.1% in previous fiscal. That's the government data. So this is these are some numbers that the government is putting out this evening. The GDP is growing at 7.2% in 2022-23 against 9.1% expansion in the previous fiscal. And even as large economies like Germany go into recession, India's GDP expected to continue to grow at a stable rate of 7.2%. Many would say that it's beyond expectations. Many will argue that it's what was expected. And India's achieving so far the FY23 targets, and that's the fiscal deficit target. We are able to meet, that is, the government is able to meet its fiscal deficit target this year. The fiscal deficit at 17.33 lakh crore in FY23 as against revised estimates of 17.55 lakh crore. So that's good news for the government. That's now coming in. We'll try and get in some experts as well to make sense of these numbers that are coming in right now. India's quarter four GDP at 6.1%. That's great news, because most countries are going into a recession zone. Large economies like Germany are already seeing a recession. And for example, this morning we had the latest Morgan Stanley report highlighting 10 big transformations in India and their impact. And they speak of also how this India, in fact, there's a Morgan Stanley report which speaks of how this India is different from what it was in 2013, saying that in a short span of 10 years, India has gained positions in the world order with significant positive consequences for the macro market outlook. And some of these changes also reflecting in the way the economy is performing, how the numbers are looking up for the Indian economy. Let's get you some more details right now. The government data saying that the GDP is growing at 7.2% in 2022-23 against 9.1% expansion in the previous fiscal. We're getting in more details that India's GDP has grown at 6.1% in January to March 2023. So that's quarter four of financial year 2022-23, and these are some more details that we are picking up. The fiscal deficit, meanwhile, for 22-23 is at 6.4% of the GDP, according to the data that's now coming in from the Controller General of Accounts. And the absolute terms, in terms of the fiscal deficit, is about 17.33 lakh crore rupees. Now, that's basically the government borrowing from the market to finance its fiscal deficit. Overall, these are bright numbers for India. If you look at the overall projection, we have grown at 7.2% in the last 1 year, 7.2% in the last 1 year against 9.1% expansion in the previous fiscal. So really being once again being the bright spot across the world. And while most global economies are going into a recession mode, India once again showing its a strong ability to buck the global trend. And some more details, also some more numbers coming in. In fact, that our fiscal deficit for 2022-23 is at 6.4% of the GDP. We're also getting in a projection for the next 1 year. Getting in details that we have grown overall in the last quarter at 6.1 compared to what we've seen in the past. But it's overall the highest in the world. 7.2 is the highest in the world. This is what we are hearing, and we'll have to go back and check those numbers. Aishwarya is, I think, on the phone line. Aishwarya, can you hear me? Sharath Kohli, okay. Before I go across to Aishwarya, let me go across to Sharath Kohli, market expert joining us on the phone line. Sharath Kohli, 7.2% in 2022-23. Big numbers. What do you make of this, Sharath?
I must say every Indian should be proud of the fact that you are now the fastest growing economy in the world. And this is very crucial because it comes at a time when the world is facing headwinds. You know, some of the most developed countries around the world, like America and Europe, they are knocking at the doors of recession. Some of them are already in. We saw Germany almost into recession. A lot of European economies into recession. American economy is knocking at the doors, if not into recession officially. After the interest rate hike, I think the entire global economy was facing challenge of growth. And I think India, not that India has not hiked the rates. We have done 250 points over the 250 basic points over the last year or so. Despite that, I mean, this shows resilience of our economy. This shows how much our economy is self-sufficient. That global headwinds can affect any economy. And with 143 crore people, it is very difficult to avoid global headwinds and still keep growing. And you look at all the numbers, look at the PMI, you look at the country's forex reserves, look at the tax collections, look at the indirect tax collections. I mean, all economic parameters were already indicating to a very robust growth. And I think recently when the Modi government took out its report card for 9 years, and I was among the first to say that the crux of all economic data, because in 2014 we were only 1 trillion, today we are 3.5 trillion. So in 9 years we've grown what we didn't do between 1947 and 2014. So I think every Indian should be very proud of this number, and I think we can safely tell the viewers of Republic that you are in times of prosperity. You know, achhe din by technical means are right here, and you should make the best out of this booming economy.
Well, absolutely. Some more details are coming in. In fact, thank you for that, Sharath. In fact, Sandeep Jain is also joining us on the phone line. He's a market expert. Sandeep Jain, some more numbers coming in that the GDP has grown at 7.2% in 22-23 against 9.1% expansion in the previous fiscal. This is government data. And for the last quarter from January to March 23, it's at 6.1%. You've seen large economies like Germany already slip into recession. What do you make of these numbers? This is fantastic news overall, but I'd like to get your view on it.
Yeah, certainly it's much better than expected, and somehow, as rightly said, you know, India is getting better, and in fact, Republic TV viewers must be enjoying that. You know, Indians are getting richer, and certainly the farm numbers, the services, GDP, all these were doing well. Certainly, GDP was already doing well in India, and farm numbers are getting better. So farm GDP is certainly a very important aspect in an agrarian economy like India, and GDP numbers were also excellent. So I think it's better than expected. The market should give a big thumbs up tomorrow. Hello.
Yeah, Sandeep, thank you for that. Thank you for that. In fact, we've achieved fiscal, the FY23 fiscal deficit target as well. So if you can throw some light on that as well, Sandeep, of us achieving our targets on that front, on the borrowings.
And also we are getting positive, and that's very important because somehow, you know, in every budget, if you listen to FM's speech, and the most important parameter we see is that, you know, the GDP growth rate and the fiscal deficit. And if that gets better, I think that is again a very big plus for India. And I think things will get better, more better in bed because crude oil is coming down. So that will again, you know, give a very positive impact on the Indian economy in the coming months, in the coming GDP quarters. Yeah.
In fact, I can't confirm these numbers yet, you know, Sandeep, but I'm just hearing, and we're going to go into details of it. But initial reading is that projection-wise, as far as global growth for large economies, China included, we've exceeded growth. This could be the highest in the world. If it is at 7.2, which the government figures show, it could be the highest in the world, Sandeep.
Yeah, certainly, yeah. There is no doubt about it now, because India is anyways the fastest growing economy, and it has superseded all the BRIC nations also and all the other emerging economies, and that's why we have seen India coming up as a great asset class, and India itself is a big asset class, and all the FIIs. The last year we have seen a negative, flow from the FII front. But this time, I think since last 2-3 months, they have been very aggressive on Indian markets, and yet the markets have gone up closer to new highs, but still, the valuations are cheaper, and I think if GDP keeps growing, I think markets will also keep growing. So I feel, all these are positive, and we have seen other parameters also like services PMI and manufacturing PMI. Again, that was also excellent. In fact, manufacturing PMI last month came up, and then we have seen all the economic indicators like, GST or the direct tax collection, all these are going up. So I think the compliance standards coming up in India, so all these governance and compliance standards have actually pushed, all these numbers up, and I think it will get better every month or every quarter.
Thank you for that, Sandeep. Good news for the economy there. It appears that we may have grown the fastest in the world. We'll wait for a confirmation on that, but this could be the highest GDP growth in the world. And before I confirm that, I'm going to wait. I'm just going to hold back on that. And 7.2% in the previous fiscal, which is, of course, beating all expectations as economies like Germany already in recession. And it appears that India has beaten expectations once again when compared to large economies. Germany's already slipped into a recession. Many people argued whether that would impact other large economies as well. The fourth largest economy has entered recession, but India looking good, going strong.